because we're gonna start a little humble beginnings. We did this last week with Dan and I, but we got you in, and I haven't asked you particulars just because I kind of wanted to save it for this kind of ability to get it fresh. But like you've had I'd call it like a non-linear trajectory to like where you are right now in terms of like the retail side of it, doing what you're doing now, just handling like the buying, the ordering, the relationships between, you know, vendors throughout the store. Like what was, you know, what you were doing before? Like what was it you were doing before? And then how did you decide? Because you were in cultivation before this.
Yeah. So I first got my first start with Ascend actually in Montclair, from Montclair traditionally. So it was like, you know, to work in a dispensary in town was like, you know, that was a cool thing. So it started with Ascend, got, you know, started on the retail side of things. Always was interested in like the inventory side of, you know, of whatever work I was doing, whether it be, you know, before restaurants. But started there, spent some time with Zenleaf.
What were you doing when you started with? Like,
I was just a bud tender, you know.
Just
came
straight up
out as a bud tender,
entry level.
you know.
Yeah.
Back then, we used to do consultations, like individual consultations with customers. So everybody, you know, I used to
like full on one-on-ones.
Yeah, so because it was still medical. So
right.
I used to do consultations, and I love what I did, you know, talking to customers, you know, really just getting the opportunity to sell a product, but also something that I genuinely have always had a joy in since I was smoking at 14.
Yeah.
You know, I was always interested in, you know, what I was smoking, looking up stuff. If I could ever get a name from, you know, my guy, it was very cool.
Always,
you know, start
when you first learn
reading.
about that world, like when you realize like, oh my God, like the genetics, the lineages, like everything, like the science behind like the plant and like what it can like, you start getting more and more like, cause it's like a whole.
Yeah, like
it's something you shouldn't could major in. Like it's like a whole thing.
If I had known back then that like there was actual like field for this like on the West Coast, I probably would have went out there for school and everything else.
Oh yeah,
but like I never thought like it would be like a you know, there would be like a future for that.
Well, because
like,
when it happened, like back then, it was so like if you could have had the forethought to know where the industry was going in that way, because it almost just sounded too like fantasy land. Like it's like, oh my God, you mean you could just walk down the street and just, you know, like treat it like you should and could treat it like alcohol or like any other product that's just got an age, you know, requirement to it to be ordered to buy it like that. It just sounded too good to be true. So it was almost like not real and like that. Oh, I could do that with my life. Like that's a industry. Like it's happening.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But so I was always interested, you know, reading stuff as a kid. So coming there, I was like, all right, cool. You know, like the ability to really talk to these people and really figure out like, you know, what they're really looking for and actually have like an actual conversation about weed was just a dope idea to me, and I loved what I did. So I spent some time on that side of things. Spent a little time with Zenleaf, and then took a job at TerraSend as a post-harvest tech.
Okay, I never asked you like what you specifically were doing.
Yeah, so we did everything once the plants came out the ground, set up dry rooms, break down dry rooms, shuck and buck them all to the pins, trimming, packaging, QC. I spent a little time in the inventory, helping them out sometimes. Like I had my first crack at learning, you know, seeing a metric for the first time on that scale, and creating labels, things like that.
What was that like with like learning metric
It
for
was
you?
So it was definitely confusing at first.
Yeah.
But having seen it on that end first definitely made it easier now.
Oh, I bet it makes retail look like nothing.
Oh yeah, it's way smaller.
I bet it's like on
seeing
the cultivation side. I haven't been on that side of metric.
Yeah, because I would help the inventory guys do count for like for all the bins and everything else for that were kept in post harvest, and I would help them do count sometimes just because like I wanted to like get into it more. And seeing it on that scale compared to this, it makes being in a vault nothing.
Oh yeah,
you don't like,
must take any at all because I'll do it like not just more about how I view myself. You know what I mean? But probably why I react this way. But like albeit metric, like when we before we got you on, when we lost Kevin, and he there was like that like waiting time. Like sorry, I now have no help. I'm now just the interim inventory manager until Ian gets finally his fingerprint. and the badging's done, there's always like that feeling like learning it, being at the point where I am now that I know it, but like it's so like to be just no netting. Like I got an inventory manager to help me. I don't have anybody to assist me. I could call Tanisha if she has time in her day, which
I'll
she's
say this.
so busy.
Yo, when
Because that must have been like you're handling metric for TerraSend, and you're on their cultivate, and you know what's like behind that in terms of
I got to watch the guys who like were actually doing it, do the work, and I would
Right.
actually sit there and I would ask questions. I wouldn't be afraid to be like, hey, like, what's this? So like just like taking that like getting that ability to actually
So it
ask
was
the
really
question,
like a
actually get the
full
answers
like
from them
learn
was,
by
like,
doing.
Yeah,
like learning on the job.
It was and I would do it in the time when I had to do my other work. But if I had time to sit there and talk to them, I'd be like, hey, like what is this?
Right.
What is that? Blah blah blah. Just ask questions in general, because really that's how you learn this industry.
No, you gotta
there's
be- you gotta be
like there's very
willing-
few things you can really just like pick up and just read about
No,
and just
you
get
can't.
an innate understanding of.
Tanisha tried to explain that to me before we opened. She was like, because Dan was like, Dave, you're my inventory manager. Like, I'm not. Why would I hire someone? You're my son, one, and two. Like, I want you to know that. And like Tanisha was trying to say, like, he'll learn. He'll learn on the job. Like he will. Like I know he's capable of learning it. It's just I could sit him down and like explain it to him, but like until you're doing it, you're in like the motions of an intake and things like that, and you're doing the standards, the SOPs, and you're going through it like on deck. It just doesn't click until you're doing it. You know what I mean? In a weird way. And she was right. I mean, I watched. I was lucky enough to shadow a intake for Rise before we opened because Tanisha knows everybody. She just asked, and he was like, "Yeah, we'll sign it, we'll schedule it." And if I didn't let that happen, we would not have opened the way we opened because we got Kevin was great. We lost him because of the commute. I mean, I saw it coming. I couldn't believe he was willing to drive 2 hours for that long. He had a commute. It turned into like an hour to a full 2 hours to the store and 2 hours home. So that was like, I was like,
That's a crazy commute.
I know.
That's dedication.
I said, Kevin, look, I knew this day was coming. It hurts. He goes, I know, I feel bad. I was like, I know, don't feel bad though. I mean, this is just not viable. It's just not. There's no legs for this. It was crazy. But if I didn't do like you're saying, like if I wasn't just on his hip for like the entire opening, for the entire first few months, like and I told them, I said, Kevin, I'm gonna really. Like, I'm gonna be bothering you. He was like, no, it's okay. Like, he got what we were doing. Like, he understood. Like, we have background in retail, but like, this is not like, it's just not normal retail. Like, I've worked in retail. Dan came from retail from an executive level, and even he has said this is not like running.
Yeah, it's very
This
different.
is not regular retail. It's so different of experience. So like,
That's because unlike regular retail where people know what they're buying, like I know I'm buying a shirt, I know I'm buying this. When it comes to this, people don't know a damn thing. Your average person is just sheep, and most of the time they're gonna. And most of the time you're gonna direct them.
Yeah.
Oh, you will get surprised
Yeah.
by some individuals.
Yeah.
Like I've definitely been surprised about some things.
And
that
it's always the most
customers said.
unexpected person. You're just like, how do you like? What do you do? He's like, I'm a contractor. It's like,
But those are the people that took the time to actually look up what
Exactly.
actually works for them,
Right.
and benefits them, and they took the time to do that.
because it's about a lot of it is about getting in touch with your personality, what meshes best with you as a person. Like, because not every strain's for everybody.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But so spent some time with TerraSend, learned a lot. Got back into the retail side of things. I just recently spent a year and a half at the Cannabis lady in Maplewood. Shout out to Jill and them, Steven, Juvens, great team. But being over there is where I really got more onto the inventory and buying side of things. Our original inventory manager, James, he had to leave, and so me and Steven took over a lot of the inventory work.
Right.
When it came to the buying aspect of things.
How did that feel to go from like the complete 180 end of the spectrum from like you're basically on literally the opposite side of.
Oh, I loved it. I was here for it. I was like,
Were you
I'm gonna do
expecting to? Were you like kind of hoping to get into that?
I mean, yeah, like I was always, wanted to do that side of things anyway. So at that point, it was like, all right, great. It also became a lot easier because I had and unfortunately, you know, if Jill ever does see this podcast, she's gonna know now. She didn't know before, she's gonna know now. I worked a job for OGs as their brand rep while I was working for her.
Oh, she didn't know you were doing that?
No.
I never knew that. I always thought she was like, oh, I was always thinking like, oh, that's cool of Jill.
No.
That's real cool of her to let him be doing that.
But you know,
great.
the owner Brand, you know, shout out to Brand and them at OGs, amazing team, delicious edibles. I love them.
OGs is
he happened
great.
to come. He's a local. You know, he's from Maplewood. Manufacturings are done in Maplewood, so you know it's a local guy, local family, everything else
And
like
they're
that.
all great guys over there.
Family-owned business,
people.
exactly. Family-owned business.
They're great
Everybody there is
people.
great. He came to my store. He had, you know, to buy product, and I was shocked when I found out who he was. I was like, "Oh, what are you buying your own product for?" He's like, "Oh, I just like to come in the stores and everything else when they first launched." And he's, you know, I was talking to him, and he stayed and watched me, you know, sell OGs to people for an hour,
Oh, really? Just took the time to just.
and then offered me, you know, a job. You know, I sent him my, you know, my resume, everything else. You know, next thing you know, they, you know, got in contact with me for a brand rep position.
Wow.
You know, accepted the job. I had just got hired, and they were like, "Hey, we need you to do a pop-up in South Jersey in like 3 days."
Oh, so you had to figure some shit out.
Twisted Hat.
You had to get some shit figured out as far as.
Oh, I was like, "Oh, cool, I'm with it."
That was basically him letting you know you got this much time. Yeah.
I was very happy. It was a great experience. I met a bunch of brand reps who I either A, still talk to this day, or B, am still in contact with. But from there, I was able to meet so many people see some beautiful dispensaries all across the state, meet a bunch of great other brand reps from when dispensaries would do like multiple, like rep fairs. They would have like 5 of us there at a time. Met a bunch of great guys, the Garden Greens guys. I got to work Nightjar's 1-year event with them, which really is what changed a lot of it.
Really?
Yes.
What about that?
In that one night, I met the guys at Higher Function. I met Cisco from Sun Extracts.
Cisco's great.
I got to meet.
Have you seen him DJ?
Yes, I went to his launch party. It was great.
When he came for the pop, I was like, "Do you want me to? I could do like a DJ." We're like, "You DJ?" He's like, "Oh, I've
Yeah,
got."
Cisco's great. Cisco's
I've got a rig. Yeah.
Cisco's a blast.
Yeah.
He's a whole vibe. He'll bring his whole setup.
Yeah.
He'll have you lit.
Yeah.
I met Toast in them.
Oh, that's where you.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So I helped some of his people because I had my own setup for OGs there, and I happened, you know, end up talking to this couple, you know, have a really long and, you know, really good conversation with them, and it turns out they were his people. So they turned around, you know, told him, you know, I took care of them apparently, and you know, and since then me and him been cool.
Oh wow.
And you know, from there, you know, I got invited to, you know, some of his parties, things like that. Met a bunch of other people. It was probably one of the best connections I could have made because
So
it really
all,
like
the nexus of it was really like night.
yeah, like I met Kiki from Heavy Hitters there that night.
Oh, I love Kiki. She came in before we first opened. Kiki gave us like a little 101 on like how, you know, everyone, because as far as the ownership team, that's basically we're just all hands on deck running the store. Other than you, I mean, we're all involved, the whole family. We're family owned, family operated. So I mean, we're all living it. We're all breathing it in 24/7. So like, when we first were opening, like I was, I was probably compared to everybody like the most knowledgeable on like the science of like the plant, the cannabis, like indicas, like the terpenes, like knowledge about what they do, why you want terpene counts so high, like the nitty gritty of like everything you would need to be knowledgeable enough to feel confident and comfortable, like you said, having that conversation with people when they walk in the door of like, you got to be ready for every caliber of customer that could be coming in, meaning the person who walks in and they're saying, I don't really know a lot about this. I mean, I don't want to drink as much. You know what I mean? I've heard this is not that bad. You know, I'm kind of new to this thing. You got to be able to handle that kind of person and really know how to speak to them in a way that it's not. It's like the intimidation if you're not a wine guy.
Yeah.
And you go to like a sommelier and you're like, I like it red. I know I like reds. I'm not a white wine guy. It can be real intimidating to like get into that world. It's a similar kind of feeling for people, I think. If they're not knowledgeable, there is that barrier of knowledge that makes it a little more difficult to like feel confident enough to walk into a dispensary.
Well, that's why it's also good for like people to like take the time to really like learn something about like the plant that maybe they like. Maybe you like flower, cool, get bring the flower. I know some people who are huge dab heads. You know, I wasn't much of a dabber at first. You know, if they had a question like that, cool, I can bring you to this person, and they're a lot better than I am on this this kind of topic. You know, just being able to know your limitations, go from there. Just build on what you know, what you want to learn about.
Right.
But yeah, like after that night, I think one of the biggest things people always tell everyone is if you get the chance to talk to everyone you can.
You're great at that
in the industry. Like if you
you're a great example.
Talk to everyone you can in the industry who's a rep. Make friends with all of them. Talk to your delivery drivers. Be cool with them. I'm cool. I'm cool with one of the Verano delivery drivers.
You never know where that guy's going to be in this industry.
Yo, I ran into one of the Verano delivery drivers at a party for Piff Coast in Seaside. Like
talk
cool
to every
dude.
bartender,
talk to everyone you
everybody
can.
Whenever you walk into a place,
build those connections.
Right.
Like those connections will help you so much in the future.
Like just think about if you were
them.
like way back when you were just a bud tender somewhere. Like let's assume it wasn't medical. It was this is rec scene that it is right now. Like imagine someone like a brand rep or even someone like yourself, for whatever reason, you're in the position you are now, but someone else, when you were just a bud tender back then, who would have thought that, so many lines down, so many iterations down the line of like, eras in the industry, one day he could walk into a dispensary and need to make a connection, and you're that guy. You're now the buyer for a dispensary, and you're an important person to know because that means that could be making the difference of whether or not I get in the shelf.
So that's actually, Ron, you say that. So yeah, so my time with OGs was amazing. Met a whole bunch of amazing individuals from other companies. I collect rep cards like they're, like they're going out of style, like they're baseball cards. So came time for me to do this with Jill, and when she was launching her pre-roll, because of all the dispensaries I've been to and everything else and everybody I knew, I was able to direct her to certain, and because of certain other people I know who are in other stores, I was able to direct her to certain places that she can go to get her pre-rolls in the store when she launched her pre-roll brand, things like that. And then when I was going around doing the brand rep work for her, I was cherry picking stores that I had already been to for OGs. It was
really?
Yeah,
I was like a double agent.
I was like, I'm gonna take advantage of every store I've already been to and built a relationship in. Why would I not? They would come in and think I'm working with them. I was like, nah, I'm not with them. I'm with such and such, actually.
You're a secret agent, man. Yeah.
But those relationships that I had already pre-built came back to benefit me in the job I was at because it was like, cool, like I already know you guys, blah, blah, blah. Is that in the third? So it just made the, making those other connections easier. And then when it came time to, for the whole Jill thing, for, doing the inventory side of things and started helping, doing more of the buying, it made everything so much easier.
Yeah, because cool, not only do you know,
I have all the cards I need
not only
to talk to.
And it's more than that. The way you are, the way you talk to absolutely everybody like that, it clues you in on every aspect of those names on those cards surrounding, the brand, the product, all those things, because you knew more than just the sales rep. You know what I mean? You had like an inside from having all those connections and talking to all those people. You had like a knowledge of like what I'm really getting when I buy this brand.
Exactly, and I make a point to like, especially when I was going to all these dispensaries, I would always try to buy a pre-roll, something, or try something out, take a scroll through the menu. What do you guys have that I don't have? Like,
why that might be.
Mm-hmm. Like I have a friend of mine who's the inventory manager at Queen City, Jordan.
You talk about him a lot.
Shout out to Jordan and guys at Queen City. Great team, great individuals, great store. I talk to him almost every other night, while playing League about
he helped
companies.
You out getting Cayenne.
Because he already had the. I didn't have a Kai Delight link like he did, So, he really, helped me out, when
Yeah.
it comes to things like that. We talk all the time about, companies we think are good, things like that, products that are new. But it's good that, I think when you have like people like that in the industry that you're friends with and on a personal level,
Right.
and you can bounce that and that stuff off of,
The
it made
things
the
that
buying
maybe-
aspect for
yeah.
what I was doing now
Exactly.
easier.
And it meant, like, to get the kind of things you would kind of want to know that you might not get if you just call the guys on the cards.
And sometimes it's hard to even figure out like, who am I supposed to call for this?
Exactly.
And it may take me forever to get a response back from those generic email addresses that you see on like websites.
Oh, we've had it happen.
Yeah, so it's like the fact that I was able to get a direct link, and it was like, oh, this is great.
Right.
Like, this is fantastic.
It's like, oh yeah, no, you don't want to talk to him. Like, I'll tell you, I'll give you a contact.
Yeah, and
like,
then
that's huge.
So and then through all the connections I made with over there, my time with doing the buying over there. While I was doing the pre-roll thing for her, I ran into you guys here.